All right, well, this morning I got a number of packages in. I got the Banks header in, I got the brake line kit that I ordered in, and I got the clutch line kit in also. So first thing I want to do is knock some of the dust and dirt off of this and see how clean I can get it, and then I'll see about start tearing it apart. I went to the parts store this morning and picked up some ATV gasket makers so that I could reseal the case once it was finished. So first I'm going to clean it, then I'll start disassembling it. So we'll see what we get. Alright, so put it on a little dolly thing I had. Started blowing it off, and a lot of the chunky stuff is coming off, but it's not really getting what I want. So I'm going to hit it with a wire brush and see how that goes, and then I'll just get it down to where it's clean, because it's pretty gross. Alright, so I took the wire brush, and you can kind of see where it's a little cleaner here than it is on that side, but still, with all the edges, I'm gonna need to come up with a plan. So I have one of those handheld media blasting guns from Harbor Freight. I think I'm going to grab it. I'm going to tape off the speedo sensor and the four-wheel drive switch I put in, and tape off the open end of the case, and we'll see if I can clean that up with some of that. So I got some soda, baking soda that I picked up also, so we'll see how that cleans up. Alright, so I taped up the ends where I just don't want the media. I'm not too worried about this section because this is going to be the part that gets replaced. So this gun is unmodified. I haven't done any of the upgrades. Haven't drilled out the tank, haven't realigned the hole. So we'll just have to see how it works. If it needs to. I've had this thing for years. I think I paid $10 for it way back in the day when it was on sale or something like that. It wasn't very expensive. So but I do know there's a few YouTube videos that show you how to modify them so they work better, but this should be a short project. I got a box of baking soda, and we're just gonna see how it cleans up. Okay, I went through the first hopper full. It actually did really nice. You can see the difference between on that side and on this side. I'm not trying to get it sparkling clean, but yeah, that makes it a lot nicer. I did a little work here too. So yeah, works pretty good. So I'm gonna go ahead and continue doing that. I am going to go get a funnel because it'll be a little easier to pour it in to the hopper than just straight out of the box. So let me grab that. Alright, so I did not do this section. You can see where it's still dirty. I did basically this main case piece and this upper piece here. You can see where it gets real clean on the edges. If I really wanted to, I could spend a lot of time and get inside here, but it seems to waste a lot of material, and we're not trying for 100% clean. We're just trying for a lot cleaner than it was. So I've gotten inside of here real good. Now I need to flip it over and do that. I highly recommend doing it outside. We've got a little bit of a breeze today, so I'm sitting upwind, so this is all blowing away from me. But yeah, that works pretty good. I've used only about half of a 4-pound box to do that side, and I'm not using an actual pressure regulator. I'm using a 4-port switch, and I'm on setting 2. It seems to work pretty good about getting the amount of material out that I want. So I'm gonna flip this over, do the other side real quick, then blow everything over there into the thing so that it's not right here, and then this will be also my work area where I start disassembling this. Okay, so I have blown all this medium over there. I've blown this case off pretty good. I just now noticed that this bolt here isn't like the others and clearly is way too long. So that's kind of interesting. So, and there is silicone between the case halves. So that kind of means that this case has probably been apart at least once. Okay, well, the next part will be to go ahead and start disassembling it. So we'll pull the speed sensor, pull the U-joint part out, take this apart so we can get the snap rings out of it, and so we can remove this part of it, and then we will stand it up on its end so that I can take the two halves apart. So I'm going to hunt down a few tools and see what we got. All right. Okay, so as I've started taking it apart, I'm finding a mix of standard and metric. So 5/8 or 15 seem to be the combination for the main parts, and 1/2 inch and 10s. Again, it looks like it was apart, so somebody probably podged this back together at some point. So finished taking this apart here. I will have to hunt down a socket for this guy. I'm not exactly sure what that is. I'll have to figure it out. It looks about a 10. Maybe a 10-12 point might work. I'll have to double check, but I'll replace that with the correct bolt. Alright, so these 3 bolts on the end of the slip shaft come off. A few taps with a hammer and the cone came off right there. We do have a snap ring that we got to get up out of here, and that will allow us to pull this bearing out. So I need to grab my snap ring pliers. Trying to see what else. I think that's all I'm going to need for a second. So snap ring pliers, maybe a small screwdriver just to help pull that ring up out of the way after I get it to move, but shouldn't be too much. I do have a pick that I brought out, so I thought I might have to take that seal out, so maybe I can get that back in there. So let me go grab my snap ring pliers and we'll see where we're at. Alright, so snap ring plier set that I have is a snap-on set, but it comes in a bunch of different sizes. The biggest ones didn't really seem to fit. It was one step down. I was able to get the pick behind there and pull it up just a little bit. Now I'm going to use this screwdriver just to work along the edge and unhook it. That should pop that ring out of there. Alright, so there's the snap ring. Throw that in the box. I don't know if I can just pull the bearing out or if I have to take the case out, but I'll figure out which and I'll let you know in a second. Alright, I pulled on that thing a few times and it doesn't seem to want to just slip out of the case, so I'm going to go ahead and take the bolts out. They seem to be 10s, at least the first couple I started, so once I get it off we'll know. Alright, so I took out 5 10s. Now this does have these little tabs where you can beat on it, so I'm going to knock it off with a hammer. There, as you can see, there is a lot of silicone in that, so it's probably going to take a little bit, but you can tell a big difference, I hope, between the part of the case there that I didn't clean and the part that I did clean. So yeah, that just quick media blast. It probably took me about 10 minutes to do the whole cleaning of that. So all right, so tapping on it didn't work, so using this pry bar I was able to get it in here and just move it a little bit. There are 3 lugs. There's one down here on the bottom, and it looks like that just fell off. Yep, okay, I can't pull it off with my bad hand, so let me go ahead and get that out of there, and then we'll see where we're at. Okay, so a little bit of wiggling, and it came right off. There it is. There is the stock gear. So I'm going to go ahead and take the yoke off so I can stand this up so that when I pull everything apart it just doesn't fall apart in my lap. But yeah, make sure you take some good reference about how things are sitting in here. Just looking for some wear. Looks pretty clean so far. I will go ahead and clean it out, and then before I put it back together I'll wipe it down real good. But so yeah, we're gonna go ahead and get rid of that yoke, and then we will finish taking out the exterior bolts and pulling the case apart. All right, well, I wasn't able to break it free by hand. What is that? Oh, that is some silicone. So I got the nut off, and it ended up being, what size is this damn thing? 1.1 is what I ended up using, and my impact gun. It did take a second, but it did come off. I used this pry bar here, kind of wedged in there to keep everything from spinning. So I should be able to pull that housing out of there, and then we can start pulling this apart. What I'm going to do is find a way to stand this up so that the bolts are facing down, and kind of find something to balance the other end on so I can take the case apart. I was kind of surprised. I pulled on it and it slid right off, so that's a plus. All right, so now we just need to find something to stand this case up on, and maybe if I stand it up on the ground and on the roller it'll be enough. We'll see. All right, well, that worked. So yeah, this little Harbor Freight dolly thing was just perfect for me to be able to stand it up, and now it's nice and pretty stable. I can get these case bolts out, and we should be able to slide everything apart. Okay, once I stood it up, I was able to slide this pump unit out, and there's a little hole right there, and it goes in that tube right there. When you put that back together, you want to make sure that that's in there, because without that, you're going to starve the bearing, and then things will go bad quickly. So now I'm just going to go ahead and pull all these outer case bolts out. Okay, so I got all the bolts out. It was a 12 point, pulled it right out. So because I'm not going to put that tail shaft piece back on, I'll be able to use that bolt to put in here. I checked it, it's the right threads. So now I need to find the tiny little pry bar to get into that little cut groove down at that end so I can separate the two case halves, because the sealant that they put on here is quite good, and I don't want to tear up one of my screwdrivers, so let me hunt that down. Okay, so at either end of the case you should have this little a notch, like right there, and that is so you can stick a pry bar in there without damaging the case as you're trying to separate it, because they silicone the hell out of these in the factory, and if it looks like somebody re-siliconed the hell out of it when they took it apart the last time. So I'm going to work on both ends until I get it separated, and then we'll go from there. All right, so a little bit of work each end, and there was a nice little sound, and now the two halves are separated, and now I can go ahead and pull the two pieces apart. All right, so that's the oil pickup for your pump. So the filter goes in that little slot down there, and so everything needs to come up now so I can pull this gear out, because we're getting rid of this whole piece. Trying to see if there's anything else I need to take off. Probably be easier to lift if the chain was straight. There was a little bit of metal shavings. I don't know if you can see that, just a little bit. So I'm going to clean that out before I reassemble everything, but everything else looks clean. I don't see any chunky pieces. None of the bearings look worn. So, all right, so next part will be getting the shaft and the chain out. So a little lifting and a little wiggling, and you have to lift both the front and the rear unit at the same time, and you can get it to slide out. So that's all part of that deal. And the rest of this just goes back in there for right now. Kind of try to leave everything as in one unit as possible. So I'm gonna go ahead and put you back in here, and the chain can just kind of be out of the way in that case half. Now the next part will be disassembling this unit so we can put the new one in. Yes, I think so. Because we need to take out, said we need to remove a roller bearing because mine is an earlier Jeep. So I will need to read the instructions as to what I need to disassemble on this. But I think we're going to end the video on this. It's warm and it's late in the afternoon. This way tomorrow I can come out, clean up the case, get that's kind of yucky, whatever that is. It's pink. All right, so we'll clean all that up. We'll clean out the inside of this. We'll get all this old gasket off of here so that it will be ready for the new one, and then we can reassemble this shaft with all the new components, and then we should be good to go.